Welcome back to the Rockman Power Hour. Metalheads, rejoice. We are joined by the lead singer of 3 Inches of Blood, Mr. Cam Pipes.
Pipes. That's so cool.
Welcome back to the Rockman Power Hour. Ryan, Cam
Yo.
Pipes, 3 Inches of Blood. How cool is this, dude?
Dude, I'm so happy about this. This is so cool. Every now and then, we have a lot of people that, we have on the show. We have rock stars. We have bands that are huge. We have bands that are up and coming. But 3 Inches of Blood reminds me about being younger and thinner. So thank you, man. This was a great trip down memory lane.
Well, yeah. Well, you're not that bad, dude. Don't beat yourself up. But yes, it is a very, very nice. It is nice that this band is back. For a lot of people that know, and maybe for people that don't know, 3 Inches of Blood had taken a pretty lengthy hiatus. No one really knew what the state of the band was, but they are back together, playing shows. After this conversation with Cam, you'll see that it seems like they're reinvigorated and they're ready to do some damage. So. This is a really, really great chat. They're going to be playing a couple of shows, one show in Montreal, one show in Toronto in
July 19th in Montreal, which is the same day as our good friend Jason Boudreau's birthday. He is turning the big 40. I turned the big 40 in April, and he's and I've been lingering over him. I'm like, dude, every day things change. Ever since I turned 40, I really started like bead melting and crafting. I've been watching nothing but I Dream of Jeannie, and I have a hungry sensation to collect vinyl for the first time in my entire life. Now, it could be because I turned 40, or it just might be a coincidence, but I like to think it's the 40 thing.
Could be the 40 thing. It could be the 40 thing. Well, it's going to be happening on Jay's birthday, and it's going to be the next night's going to be in Toronto. So if you guys want to continue the party, you could just get on a bus and follow the 401 to Toronto to see 3 Inches of Blood. But Ryan, we've got him on the podcast, and we're super excited. I want to let you know that we would not be able to do this without Heartbeat Hot Sauce. As we know, they are the heartbeat of the Rockman Power Hour. When I went to go see the John Garcia show a little while back, I brought John a bottle of the new hot sauce, that the collab with Laurent Dagenet, the chef, the Salsa Verde, and he was really excited to try it. I had brought him 2 bottles, cool. And his tour manager was in the dressing room, and she's like, "Did you bring something for me?" And I was like, "Absolutely, I did." And I gave her one. And
nice.
John looked at me like that was a classy thing to do. But if you haven't tried Heartbeat Hot Sauce, you need to. I don't know what you're waiting for. Heartbeat Hot Sauce. 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 Use our promo code Rockman20 and you'll get 20% off your entire order. It is summertime, so we're going to be pimping this one out for a while. This is the delicious camp sauce, which I love. I absolutely love. So for all you parents that have shoved your kids off to camp and you miss them, well, throw this on some of your eggs while you're sitting there enjoying your peace and quiet. Because
there's Simpson episodes about this where Homer sends the kids to Camp Krusty and all his hair grows back. He starts losing weight.
Yeah.
And then the second Bart ruins everything and he sees him on TV. Then the gut comes back and the hair falls back out.
Off. Yeah. Well, so thank you to Heartbeats Hot Sauce. They're incredible, and use our promo code Rockman20 over and over and over again. You can use it as much as you want. Thanks to our friends at Studio House Designs. Ryan, this shirt has never meant so much to me because I got to go to this location when I was on my little road trip with Julia. We ended up going to Washington, D.C., and we did the Exorcist steps. So these are the kind of things that are really, really special when Studio House Designs designs a shirt. They put a lot of thought into it and a lot of effort. And this is a take of the listing of The Exorcist. I'm going to stand. This is the listing of The Exorcist when it was actually in theaters. You can see down here. These are the New York City theaters it was playing at.
I like how impressed they are to tell you that they have surround sound.
I know, right? So check out Studio House Designs. You're rocking the stack.
The 90s slacker stack. It's a great shirt. Well, I'll get a little close up of it here. This shirt is interesting because not only is it full of a bunch of movies aimed at me, hence a teen in the 90s, including SLC Punk, Mallrats, Dazed and Confused. I mean, the list goes on.
And Butthead to America. It's great.
Yeah. I saw all these. I rented all these movies. I saw most of them in the theater. But at the same time, a photo of me wearing this shirt, at least the chest portion, is actually on the Studio Designs website.
I've seen that. You're like a star now. Fuck.
It's nice to know that my chest is finally making someone money.
Wow. There you go. Yeah. So all those things, we know all that.
It's been the dream.
All that self-hate that you don't say that, man. You're a chess model.
There you go. I'm going to tell everybody I'm a chess model now. This is fucking awesome.
Thanks also to Mike Marino and our good friends over at Audio Technica Canada. The Rockman Power Hour has never sounded as good as it does now. So thank you.
Hell yeah. May I just say, at the recording date of this that we're doing, Montreal has had a rainstorm of epic proportions in which I have never seen in quite some time. And my window's been open this entire time, including through the interview. And you, because of the greatness of Audio Technica, you cannot tell the Jumanji game that has gone off the rails just feet from me with my open window. Oh, so that's pretty impressive.
Is it really wet? Is there a lot of water everywhere?
Oh, there was I could hear with my normal ears, not through my microphone, but just through my normal ears that shit was going down.
But was water actually coming in?
No, the water wasn't coming in the house, but water was being dropped on the world in such vigorous proportions and hate and speed that, after all these hot days, the planet Earth just said, hey, cool off.
There you go. So we're cooling off.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't hear any of it, so there you go. So thank you to Audio Technica. Obviously, it proves to you, man, this shit works well.
If you want to broadcast in a rainstorm and don't want to worry the locals, use Audio Technica.
So thank you. I also wanted to just very briefly say thank you very much to our friend Sarah Lutz. Now, Sarah has been integral in this podcast. She's been one of the publicists that we work a lot with, and if it wasn't for Sarah, we wouldn't have gotten a chance to talk to Cam. So I wanted to thank Sarah properly. We always thank her at the end of our episodes that she's involved with. But thank you to Sarah over at Looters PR. If you're ever looking for someone to do PR in Canada, she is the best. That's the reason why she's trusted by so many labels like Metal Blade, like Century Media, and the list goes on and on and on, because she's just a wonderful, wonderful person to work with.
She's awesome.
She's the best. So thank you, Sarah, for hooking us up with Cam. Ryan, let's just dive right into this, because this is a lot of fun. I think everybody's excited to see what's going on with 3 Inches of Blood after this hiatus. So here we go. Mr. Cam Pipes from 3 Inches of Blood. So thanks for doing this, man. We really appreciate you being here. Ryan's my co-host.
Hello, Ryan.
When I and Sarah's a dear friend, and Sarah's been singing this band's praises for years to me.
Yeah, we've been friends with Sarah for 20 some years at least.
Yeah, she's wonderful, and I remember her putting this band on my radar for, well, she didn't put it on my radar, but I remember her saying, you got to check this out. This is probably about 7 or 8 years ago. And I think it was right before, maybe it was a bit before that, but it was right before you guys kind of paused. Mm-hmm. And I remember I listened to the band and I was like, this is so much different than a lot of the shit that's out now, because there's a guy that can actually sing.
If you can call it that, but
yeah. And and Ryan's also a big fan. So it was really nice that you took the time to chat with us tonight.
Of course.
You're heading out on the road after some successful reunion shows. it was the kind of the thing where people, they said it would never happen, and it did. And it seems like after those Vancouver shows, there was just buzz where people just wanted to see this band. How does that feel after taking a bit of a lengthy hiatus to come back and to have that kind of response? It's
fantastic. I mean, we sort of envisioned like, okay, let's do one show and see how that goes. And then, if there's enough positive feedback, then maybe we'll look into doing some more. And even before we'd played these first few shows, we had people calling us like, hey, like we want to bring you out here. Do you want to come out here? And so on and so forth. So little by little, we've just started kind of filling up our schedule for this year, just doing like weekend stuff here and there. But it's kind of just been like, kind of a bit of a whirlwind in a sense, so that we're like, okay, we're doing this. We're going to be going. We just did Winnipeg a few weeks ago, and that was insane. And then doing Seattle in just under 2 weeks for our first U.S. show back. And Seattle's always been a big place for us. And then we're heading out to Montreal and Toronto in July, and then Alberta in November, and other stuff. And next year we'll probably be doing more stuff too. So it's really cool.
It's really so cool that you're coming to Montreal. One of my best friends in the world, Jason Boudreau, he turns 40 the day you guys come.
Oh, right.
Very fortunate for me and very fortunate for him. He's a big fan as well. And I believe we all saw your show the last time you guys played Montreal. I think it was at Underworld, and this was many moons ago. And it was a hell of a show. And the thing is, I asked you this question back then, but I used to drink a lot, and now I don't as much. So I can't remember what you answered, but I remember that I asked you. But one of my favorite albums and from this band, like out of all of Judas Priest, the one that really hits me is Painkiller. And I'm just like, I always thought what you guys do is like, if Judas Priest kept doing Painkiller, but then changed it up when it came to like, okay, let's get some screaming vocals in there. Let's experiment with tempos. Let's do the galloping thing that Iron Maiden does as well. It seems like you guys do, you have the Halford power, but at the same time, not Priest limitations of the genre that they like, helped invent. It seems like 3 Inches of Blood just can do whatever they want. And I just wanted to know, are you actually like a Judas Priest fan, or is this completely a fluke?
Yeah, well, of course we all love Judas Priest, and it wasn't intentional going in to try and sound like Rob Halford myself, and I've gotten those comparisons. He's probably the most compared to vocalist for me that I've gotten over the years. It wasn't intentional. But it's certainly a nice compliment to get that comparison. But yeah, like you said, it's like we basically do kind of just whatever we want, whatever we think sounds good, and we've got the two different kind of vocal styles going on there. So I think any show that or tour that we've done over the years, we kind of stick out like a sore thumb. So it's kind of helped us kind of stand apart and get us noticed.
It's funny, the comparisons to Halford, and I mean, listen, fuck, you're getting compared to Halford. I mean, that's like one of the nicest compliments you can get as far as a metal fan, because he's one of the greats. But I do think the distinctiveness of having the two vocalists, it's funny when you trace back a band's like genealogy, if you will, and you see, when you guys came out in '99, and around that time when you guys were forming, there was a lot of really different stuff going on in music. Obviously, nu metal was huge. The screamo was bubbling under the surface and was about to explode in like 2001. So the two vocalist thing became something that was very signature for that time. But a lot of it got played out, and a lot of it just sounded like, well, we need a guy that can scream, then we need a guy that can fucking whine like his girlfriend just broke up with him. But you guys don't have that. You guys are able to like always have these two vocals that really, really just fit with the music, and didn't seem like, oh, we got to do this because everybody's doing it. It felt like kind of like Alexis, like, Alexis had that thing too, like where both vocals were very needed, and they still are very needed. The same thing with this band. When you're shaping that sound and you're trying to find, spots for different vocal sounds, different approaches, like how is that kind of dictated in the band? Like, how is that formed? Is it somebody that says, well, I really think we need to have this here, that here, or is it just something that naturally happens when someone comes and brings in an idea?
Yeah, I think like the guitar players, they'll write the riffs, and we'll just kind of like build the song in the rehearsal space, and then in the meantime, I'm kind of just listening to what's coming together. I find where they'll write stuff as like, okay, this is where we think the chorus might go, but ultimately it's I kind of usually figure out where the chorus goes myself, and then if I hear a hook here and there, so well, why don't we repeat this or whatever. So more or less it just kind of falls into place in terms of where the two vocals go. After we've kind of jammed it out a bunch and we're kind of got the workings of a new song, then pretty much now like Justin will come in after, and like him and I will go over like what I've written lyric wise and script out, like, okay, like maybe you can do something here or double up a part here and stuff like that. So we used to kind of struggle a little bit with like when Jamie Hooper was still in the band, it was maybe a little more of a struggle with, okay, I'm going to sing this part, and you kind of had to like, well, you got to write your lyrics quickly or else you're not going to get to sing on that part. But it didn't always work out that way. It was stuff just kind of, even back then, kind of worked itself out, and we figured out what just sounded best amongst everybody. Everybody had their opinions, like, well, okay, we need to have something here for Cam's vocals, and maybe Jamie's got something here. So, it was usually pretty democratic and something that we kind of worked out together.
I've been listening to 3 Inches of Blood for years, but never really looked at the album sleeves, never really had seen the music videos because 12 years ago, we're in a different world. Now everyone watches music videos on a phone all the fucking time, and it's instant gratification. But back then, still there was kind of like, okay, some research would be taken, and it would take them to do it. But I was watching music videos today, and I was like, oh, there is 2 singers, because before that, I was like, oh, how drunk was I at that show? Why didn't I notice another guy? but seriously, I was watching with the 2 singers, and I was thinking to myself, I'm like, he probably really saves a lot of his voice if he wasn't doing double duty with all the screams and growls and essentially hurting your voice, while at the same time maintaining your ability to do that insane high pitch on a night by night basis, even back in the day. Like I stay out until past 11 o'clock and I can't speak for 3 days. Like, how the fuck do you keep your voice going, bro?
Just trial and error and practice and building up the resistance, or just getting used to it. It was a struggle sometimes early on when we were first doing a lot of touring, and I wasn't really used to the routine. You'll pick up little tricks here and there, and then your voice becomes a little more durable over time. So I think that's all it is for me anyway. Everybody's different, so I can't really say how other people have other singers have done it and gone on long stretches of being able to maintain their voice and keeping it in decent shape. But
we had John Garcia from Caius on the show a couple weeks ago, and I was talking to John when he played Montreal, and prime example of a guy that's just an incredible vocalist, and still can keep that register after all these years. But he did tell me, he did say, he goes, it's not like before. Like, I've got to really take care of myself. I've got to make sure that I kind of stretch. I've got all these little things that he didn't really think about before back in the day. For you, going back out and on the road, when you guys were off, what were you doing? And obviously, I guess there's a certain natural thing that you have that you're still able to keep at the same pace you were before. But what did you do in that off time? Were you still making music? Were you still conscious of being a singer, or did you just kind of put it all away and just say, I'm doing something different?
Yeah.
Were you like Rambo, just chopping wood in the woods alone?
I was just working a day job. I didn't really do anything musically. It wasn't on purpose, but
Right.
I had something that I was kind of working on with some friends, and we were writing stuff. We didn't have a full band yet, but then the pandemic happened, so that we kind of put that on hold. And then it just kind of kept going on with whatever daily life we could have in those few years. So fast forward till a couple years ago, and then we were starting to talk about doing 3 Inches of Blood again. So that's kind of where it was. And we rehearsed a lot in over the course of a year and a half before we finally did play another show. So
okay, so there was a good, like, you were able to get everything back up to where it needed to be.
Yeah, like there was time for us to kind of practice and figure it out, and then just see if there was anything there. But that was really all I did musically. I mean, I did the odd show here with a Scorpions cover band. We played a couple shows, and me and Justin and Shane and Ash, and then another buddy, we did a Rush cover band a few times, just for fun, for a couple benefit shows, and something we did occasionally. And then all of us, minus Ash, because he was away on tour, and then we had a buddy fill in. We actually played a couple of 3 Inches song at Justin's wedding
Nice.
back in 2019. So that was like the last time we'd actually played songs together.
Wow.
But yeah, unfortunately Ash couldn't make it, but we had a buddy fill in. We just jammed a couple songs to Justin's wedding reception. So
that's amazing, dude. Wait, hang on. Do you have video of you have 3 Inches Above playing at a wedding? Because if you make more music videos, that might be a great idea for one, man. Seriously.
Yeah, there might be. I think I remember seeing some footage, but it was on someone's Instagram. I just don't recall who.
So, I played music before. I was in a band for quite a while, for quite a long time, and then I took kind of a hiatus after being someone who was on the road a lot. I remember when I kind of turned my back on music at that time, I didn't miss it because I was just so ready for a change. Did you enjoy being out of the musical headspace? And did you find, because I know for a lot of people that step away from music and then they come back to it, there's this new appreciation when they come back, but there's a different attitude towards it. It's not kind of like that first grind where you're just not enjoying anything. You're just thinking of the next thing where you've got to get to. And it's almost like when you get that second rebirth of a project you were really involved with, you almost have this new appreciation for it where you savor every moment because it might not be there the next day. Was there any of that? And also, did you enjoy being away from music for a while? Did you discover anything different about yourself?
There's definitely an element of having a new appreciation for what you have with this, or what we have with this band. Because when we decided we were going to like kind of call it a day, it was not initiated by me, and I didn't want the band to end. It was just kind of one of those things that people were going different directions, and so we just decided rather than replace people again,
right,
that we would just kind of table it and then just call it and then say that's it. So it felt like, it didn't even feel like it was going to be a hiatus and that someday we would talk about it again. It was, let's just call it a day. I don't know. I wanted to do other stuff, but I didn't necessarily enjoy having a break from it. I mean, my wife certainly liked having me around more because it was easier having me around
sure,
around the house than her having to deal with everything around here when I was on tour. I just kind of settled into a routine, daily working, being a working man. Everyone was still friends and everything, so there was no bad blood by any means. But now that we're back at it, I think we took a long, kind of hard look at what we wanted to do if we were going to get this band back together and how we were going to approach it. And I think everyone feels much more satisfied with how we're approaching it. And we feel like we have a lot more control of what we're doing and what we want to do with this band than we did before, because we don't feel like we have to jump in a van and go tour for 8 weeks to just pay our bills. we're all in good places where we have good career jobs that are flexible, and we can go take some time and do a few gigs here and there, and then come back, get back to work.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm at work and I'm like, it's taken me a long time to do shit because I'm like really focusing on like, okay, like, cause we're all kind of working behind the scenes as well, like working on stuff that's coming up and we're doing this all ourselves, like more or less. We don't really have too much outside help on the business end of the band. Sure. We're doing it all ourselves because we've got so much experience. And how we want to do things, we want to do things our way. And that was kind of our goal. Our approach going into it.
I think for a lot of people that have done music professionally and really toured like crazy, and then when they do get back to it, the other flip side of it is, of course, there's the appreciation of it, but there's also the obsession. There's the obsession of not being, you can't do it half-assed. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. When you've done it at a certain level, you can't go back to it and do it like, we'll just, phone it in. No, you want to do it right. Like you were mentioning, you rehearsed a lot before you even started playing again. But there's that other part it's almost like this obsession that happens where you're like, oh man, at least for me, when I did it again, I was like, now I know what I didn't like about this, because every time I do it, I have to do it I'm playing for fucking keeps. Like this, we have to be the best version that we were before. Like we have to be the best version of this. Like you can't do it half-assed. And it's almost like it's a double-edged sword in a way, because it becomes an obsession. And it's also like, you can see why music is such a particular thing, and why it can be a very dangerous thing to chase if you don't have a good attitude about it. Because, I know exactly what you're talking about when you're sitting at your job and you're thinking about, maybe potential album artwork, or you're thinking about, a tour poster and all these things that people don't, like, oh, we've got to get this done. We got to get merch done. Like all these things that people don't think about when you're self-managing. It's like, hey man, there's a lot to think about, but then it's fun because it's your love, right? It's like probably one of your first loves. So it's funny you say that, and it brings me right back to that point of knowing exactly what you're saying, because I've been in those situations where I'm like, oh, this is starting up again. This is fun. Now I remember why I like this. And then I'm like, holy shit, this is like a fucking drug.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Like back then it was like, it felt like work, and we had people, in a manner of speaking, like kind of managers and like people at the label, like, oh, you need to do this tour. You got to stay busy. You got to stay busy. You got to get out there. Here's this tour. It's the only thing available. So we were starting to like look at our opportunities and be like, man, it's not really worth it. Like we don't want to do, X tour with Y bands, and, the opportunities were kind of few and far between, and they were expecting us to do it for fucking peanuts.
Yeah.
And it's like, nah, it's, we're not going to do that. So we started to slow it down, and then, we did a few more tours, and then we kind of took a long, hard look and was like, is this even worth it? And so we took a break, in like around end of 2013, we kind of took a year off.
Yeah.
I think we did a couple of one-offs here and there in that time, but then after a year, we kind of came back and said, all right, let's reassess. And then that's when we're just like, we wanted to just kind of end it. And everyone was kind of getting burnt out. I think everyone now is feeling a lot more invigorated and more excited, not just about playing, but getting the opportunity to like get out there again and make it a really good show. We've been focusing extra on the production side, just making it more than just getting up there and playing the songs. Like we wanted to visually to be a really exciting show as well.
I gotta ask you, I know a particular moment where I thought I was done with music, and this is years ago, before I was done with music again. The first time I was kind of in between bands, and I just remember being at a karaoke bar and just waiting for like 2 hours to sing a fucking Danzig song. And then like, the DJ at the end of the night just pairs me up with his drunk friend with a thick French accent who can't sing at all and is singing louder and into the microphone, which we're not supposed to fucking do. And, I got really mad, and I'm like, wait a second, I'm a semi-professional musician. Why the fuck am I mad? I can sing this song in air, Danzig song I won 50 fucking times with my own band. So I started a new band the next day, and then we played Christmas every day for like 12 years.
Nice.
But I remember that moment. It was kind of like revenge. You know, revenge is a very proactive thing, ladies and gentlemen. You know, there's 2 Kill Bill movies about it. It drives you. But
Yeah.
what was the moment that made 3 Inches of Blood come back from the ashes? Because, you know, it's easy to say, hey, we should do something. And it's almost kind of like pillow talk at the end of the night. It's like, yeah, high five. Remember brotherhood. Woohoo. But what made you actually do it?
Well, and I'd always in my head been thinking like, yeah, you know, like I'd like to do this again, but you know, I didn't want to be the guy to like broach the subject, so I was just kind of waiting to get a vibe from people overall. But I don't know, just all of a sudden one day, Justin Hagberg called me up and said, "Hey man, like, because he's got other bands he's been working with, and very different musically, like not strictly like metal, kind of like what we'd been doing, but you know, metal-ish, I guess, if in a respect. And he'd been writing some more, you know, metal songs again, and just in his own time. And he was getting inspired, and he started thinking like, some of these might be good 3 Inches songs, and potentially. So he just kind of came to me and said, "Hey man, like, how would you feel about getting 3 Inches of Blood back together?" And I said, "Well, let's talk about it." So we had a good long chat one day, and we were more or less kind of on the same wavelength about how we would want to approach it and how we would want to try and take advantage of certain opportunities, and what we'd want to do as far as playing, and where we'd want to play. So I said, okay, well, this feels good. Why don't we like see if we can get the other guys together? So we met with Ash and Shane, and everyone was just kind of like instantly, like, there was no like pushback at all from anyone. It was like, yeah, I think we could probably do this. Like, let's, so then we called Nick. Nick lives in a different city. So we called up Nick, and he was like, he'd kind of thrown out hints like every now and then that like, yeah, if you guys ever wanted to do this again, like I'd totally be down. Well, I called him, and he's like, fuck yeah, like I'm totally into it. So we organized a practice or two, and he came to town, and we just kind of just said, okay, well, let's just kind of throw out a song name and just kind of see where it goes, and just let's see if the muscle memory kicks in. And it felt pretty good. Like, for me, it was pretty rough because I hadn't really sang in a long time, and like, you know, regardless of how long I've gone without singing, if it's been a little while, it kind of takes me a couple practices to really get into it. But I think after a couple jams, we were like, okay, this feels pretty good, but let's kind of, you know, keep in touch. Let's kind of talk about it some more. Maybe have some more jams. And so we did. Before we even decided we were gonna like try and get a show together and play in Vancouver, because naturally we were gonna, you know, make our first shows back here in our hometown. So before we even decided we were gonna start trying to like lock in a show and get it going, like, we're still gonna be like, let's get together and jam. And then so yeah, we just kind of did that for a little while, and then eventually we said, okay, yeah, let's do it. Let's try and organize a show. So we gave it a lot of build up times because we wanted to do it right. And obviously we were going to have to work around Ash's schedule as well, because he's really busy with revocation. So we needed that a lot of build up and prep time anyways, just so we could have enough time to rehearse and get all the little intangibles worked out as well. But yeah, it's eventually one guy just kind of broke the ice, and that was Justin. And he came to me, and I was like, you know what? I've been thinking about wanting to do this for a while, but I don't know, had apprehension about bringing it up to anybody else. So I'm glad he did.
Well, here's the $1 million question. Is there new music?
Not yet, but there is potential to do it. Some of the guys have ideas that they've been working on, just themselves, like, but they haven't necessarily brought it to the rest of the group yet. And really, we haven't even really had time to get in a rehearsal space and work on anything other than, the songs that we're going to be playing at the next show.
Sure.
Because, still to this day, Ash is still busy with, he's an in-demand guy, not just with Revocation, but he's got projects he's working on. And I think at the moment he's filling in for a show or two with On Earth somewhere in the States. And he was just doing, he did a couple of gigs with Marty Friedman for festivals in Asia.
Wow.
So he's got a lot on his plate, and he likes to kind of keep busy. So, but yeah, good for him. But he's so far he's been able to juggle it with flying into town with a few days before the next show, kind of thing. We rigidly schedule everything. It's like every jam. It's like, okay, when can everyone jam next? Yeah, because we're also dealing with Nick, who lives in Seattle, so he's got to drive up a couple hours to come practice with us. Like,
it's got, when you have these things, they're set in stone, and it's and I think if anything, it probably just keeps the appreciation, and it keeps everything really really present, right? Instead of future tripping.
Yeah, it does.
I gotta say, like, I'm so glad you could still, like you said, it took a jam or two, but at least it came back, because I want to say that I want to compliment you in person. Like, when I say Painkiller is my favorite Judas Priest records, because Halford only does the screechy, powerful, high-end voice the entire time. Well, for the rest of the Judas Priest records, he uses it, but then he uses his mid-tone Halford signature voice too, but only will go there in Painkiller front to back, and that's what I loved about it. So when I heard 3 Inches of Blood for the first time, I was like, holy shit. They're doing the thing I love about Painkiller, but they won't fucking stop. And then they're dialing it even farther. So I'm so glad you can still do that, because I just watched this Bon Jovi documentary where he's like losing his voice and he's heartbroken and he's doing all this stuff, all these stretches, surgeries, everything. He's like, here's this multi-millionaire who won't go on stage anymore, essentially, because he can't do it anymore. And good for him, because let's be real, we've all been at some concerts where sometimes people should have hung it up, but here they are charging hundreds of dollars for us to watch them run out of breath after a song or two. So I'm glad you still I'm glad you're still performing at the level that you want to perform at. Were you worried beforehand? Because like I said, when I sing, whatever, I'm a Danzig knockoff. When you sing, it's kind of like you're an Olympic level runner when it comes to the power you use your vocals for.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, it's there were a couple of moments of apprehension, like in some of the early jams, where like, a song here and there was giving me some trouble. Sometimes you can chalk it up to being under the weather a little bit, or just or I don't know, maybe it's allergies, maybe it's the air circulation in the room we're practicing in. So usually you'd kind of just figure it out, there's no other really way to put it, but you just gotta figure out what works, and if you can adapt to kind of get back to where you should be.
Yeah.
And sometimes other songs that we hadn't played in a while, like we're playing a lot of songs off Advance and Vanquish on in all our sets this year, because it's the 20th anniversary. So a lot of those songs weren't always like staples in the set, but they would come back every now and then. So getting used to certain songs again, like, was definitely a challenge, but also like a welcome one, because some of these songs were like really fun to play, and we didn't always play them on every tour.
I've got to say, a singer that never lost it, even until his dying days, was Dio, and he was like a mutant. He would smoke a joint or something and go on stage. He never did any warm-ups or anything. He just was a natural talent. And you guys have this amazing tribute song called what's it called again? It's called Look Out. Yeah,
exactly. Yes, there you go.
Yeah. Can you tell me the story behind Look Out? Because one of my best friends, I have a lot of best friends. No, there's like a few of us. Marco Vaccaro, he was the cool kid in high school that would always tell us about bands. And later in life, he was still that guy, still always finding the new band, still finding the new music. He's the reason why our whole friend group knows 3 Inches of Blood and loves them. And I was hanging out with him on Saturday, and I'm like, dude, I'm talking to lead singer on Monday. And he's like, you know what? Can you ask him about this song? And here I am doing that right now. So please tell me the story.
Well, we used to like to, joke about how Dio would say "look out" in a lot of songs.
Yeah.
Over the years. So, Ronnie had just died. Our record came out in 2012, and we were sort of writing it in 2011. And Ronnie died in 2010. So his death was still pretty fresh, and it was like a huge loss to just music in general. So we thought hey, that'd be kind of, why don't we write a song called "Look Out" and it'll be like a Dio tribute, like maybe not in the way it sounds, but I'll write some lyrics that'll like kind of sort of pay tribute without mentioning his name, but there will be a kind of obvious cues here and there that'll just kind of so yeah, it was just, we wanted to just write our own tribute to Ronnie, and we called it "Look Out." Look out! It's everywhere. Like even the it's like SOD's, like I guess it's just called "The Ballad of Dio."
Yeah.
It's just the dark of the day, the black of the sun. It's coming for you. Look out!
Yeah.
And it. So they understood that too. So I always thought it was funny, like just how often you say "look out." So that's why we called it "Look Out."
I love it.
That's great. It's such a great song too.
It is.
Is there a harmonic? Is there a keyboard on that song? Like,
yes,
playing along. Yeah. Okay, that's what we were listening to, and he was pointing it out, where it was like it was harmonizing with the guitar solo, or at least the guitar harmonics in the lead part. That was a really cool. That was a really cool choice. Do you do a lot of keyboard stuff in 3 Inches of Blood, or is it just that tune?
Hold on one sec. My dog.
Oh, we love dogs in this.
He always loses his ball under the couch. Where are you, buddy?
I lose my ball all the time, but it's strictly in a metaphorical type of way.
Come on, I've got 3 dogs. Come on,
yeah?
Do it. But he always loses his tennis ball into the couch.
3 times the love.
And he's got and then he'll lose it again in a few minutes, probably. Yeah. So. Or sooner. Okay, keyboards. Yeah. So the keyboards, Justin does all the keyboards on the recordings. They're on a few songs, even going back to like Fire Up the Blades. There's some keyboards on there, and I think we've had keyboards on all the albums since, on the odd song here and there. And so Look Out is the kind of the most obvious one. And we've even performed it live a few times with keyboards. So Justin will he'll be doing like the keyboard solo and not playing his guitar, and then there's kind of there'd be like kind of a changeover where it's more or less just kind of like playing one note or chords, and I would just kind of quickly like switch the hands in as because he's got to switch to playing like guitar again.
Yeah.
So a little bit of a transition that you got to like get pretty smooth, but given my limited keyboard skills, it was fine. I just had to make sure I was there to really get my hands in on the keyboard as soon as the appropriate part came in. So
listen, man, I really want to appreciate and thank you for and tell you we appreciate and thank you for coming on the show and for chatting with us. I know that a lot of people are super excited about these shows. I was looking on Metal Injection's page and I saw you were playing their festival and they were billing it as like the first American date, and like, so I think a lot of people are really hyped that this is coming back. I think there's a certain nostalgia thing to it too, which will really play in your favor. And I think a lot of people, let's face it, there's some young metalheads that probably never got to see you play. So it's just a really fun time to be, a 3 Inches of Blood fan and to see this resurgence happen. And I think you guys are going to kill it, man. Cause those, all the videos I saw from Vancouver were all pointing in that direction that, man, this fucking band hasn't missed a beat. So, kudos to you guys, man. Keep killing it.
I got one final question just because it like inspired me from before. Okay. So you're a fucking amazing singer, right? Are you ever in a karaoke bar and you're just that asshole that goes up and fucking kills? And because I feel like I'm that asshole sometimes too, where a bunch of people suck and I go on and I'm in the middle of Winnipeg. I have blonde hair and I sing a Billy Idol song and I seem like a ringer. But like, do you just go? Do you go? What is your go-to karaoke song? And I'm sure you just blow the lid off the place and everyone wants to buy you beer afterwards because What you have is very special.
Well, I will do karaoke every now and then. And it just depends on the mood, but I'll do a few songs here and there. But I try to do stuff that's not too unexpected. I have done a few Billy Idol songs here and there because my wife is like a huge Billy Idol fan. So I'm like,
okay,
I'll go up and I'll do like Eyes Without a Face and kind of like serenade my wife from up there, just kind of like mess around. And I'll do something like by like Peter Cetera, just some non-metal song that I think I can sing in a normal kind of singing voice, I guess. But for the longest time, "Turn Me Loose" by Loverboy was kind of a go-to song for me. I've done that a few times, including on the one time we played 70,000 Tons of Metal. I was in the karaoke lounge one night and I got up and did "Turn Me Loose," and that was a little nerve-wracking because there were other like a lot of my like metal peers were there, so it was just like, okay, I better not fuck this up. But yeah, it's all fun. I like doing karaoke every now and then, but it's cool.
Cool. Thank you, Cam, man. Appreciate you, and we'll see you in Montreal. And all the best. Be safe out there and enjoy yourself.
Thanks very much. That's July 19th for everyone out there, and July 20th in Toronto. So yeah, we're going to be out there for the weekend. Well, MTL and TO, look out.
It's going to be a good weekend of metal, man.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. Really looking forward to it.
Thanks, man.
What a cool dude, man. I keep forgetting like how chill Vancouver metalheads are. It takes me back. I went on a cross-country tour when I was like 22. And even the punks, like everyone loved Iron Maiden in Vancouver. That's pretty much it. That's the unifying factor. Right. There was one thing where even at the punk shows, whenever a metalhead dude would show up, and he kind of reminded me of this, he'd just have a case of beer. He'd bring a case of beer, just stand there, whatever band was playing, just headbang away, just just blow off some steam of the work week. And he reminded me of that. And there's great bands from Vancouver. Shout out to a band called the Goalers. I don't know whatever happened to them, but my old band did a tour of the Dayglow Abortions and Goalers once, and Goalers were like a thrash metal band / kind of punk band that just wiped the floor every night, and we were cute, I guess. but and Dayglow were Dayglow. So it was an interesting tour, but I don't know. His demeanor, it makes me miss Vancouver now. I hope to go back there sometime and go and hang out with some good old metalheads.
So thank you, Sarah, again. And thank you to our producer, Julia Kajerski. Thank you to my co-host, Ryan Stick. And thanks to all of you for joining us on this journey. Heartbeat Hot Sauce, the heartbeat of the Rockman Power Hour. Use our promo code Rockman20. You can use it over and over again. And thanks to all of you, man. Just like, subscribe, wherever you're listening to us from. We appreciate you. If it's streaming audio, then thank you for joining us there. And if you're watching us and you're that brave, thanks for watching these two big freaking heads from Montreal. We appreciate all of you guys. Huge heads. And that's it. That's the show. We're done.
We are.
Anything else to add?
Oh, I have a really funny story, but I guess I'll just tell you in person another time, or leave it for another episode that involves an epic journey of vinyl buying, getting on the wrong bus twice, and getting on a Bixie bike in Montreal for 45 straight minutes, and having to stop at one point and have Marco give me water so I wouldn't pass out. Jesus Christ. That was my Saturday. So,
mine was a lot more calm. All right. Tell me that story in person. Okay.
All right.
Thanks for joining us. And we'll see you next time on the Rockman Power Hour. Hey, thanks so much for watching the podcast. We really appreciate your support. And if you're enjoying the podcast, click this link right over here to watch the next episode, and click right over here and subscribe. And that way you won't miss anything.